Bite my colossal metal ass!
So I was talking with someone recently about my channel, and they asked me, do you talk about adult or kids cartoons? And isn't that an interesting question? But it got my gears turning. Are we getting into sort of a two-way stream of thinking when it comes to Western animation? I mean, I'm an adult, and I still really enjoy stuff like the Fairly Odd Parents, the Gravity Falls, and the We Bare Bears of the modern world. So what does it mean? If I'm an adult and I don't only watch Archer and Bob's Burgers, does that make me some kind of a monster? Well, no, of course it doesn't. I'll say this, the idea of adult cartoons has been almost a point of cringing for me over the past 6 or 7 years. Not the shows themselves, but just the sheer separation of it all. Animation has been kicking ass recently, which does nothing but put a massive smile on my face. But it seems to come at a price. A more and more clear divide between adult cartoons and kids' cartoons. For me, growing up, things like The Simpsons and King of the Hill were considered more of the adult cartoons, while stuff like Hey Arnold and Courage the Cowardly Dog were considered kids' cartoons. Of course, the funny thing about that is that both of those kids' cartoons that I mentioned are probably just as mature, if not more mature at times, than the aforementioned adult cartoons. Either way, I'm a big fan of all of those shows. What I mean is that I don't intend this in any way as an assault on the adult cartoon genre. I mean, you can't really find a bigger South Park fanboy than me. But what is of interest to me is just the very idea of adult cartoons and their kind of exclusive existence from the rest. The prominent question being, why are certain animated shows considered as such and others not? Well, I suppose it stems from risque content, adult language, and mature themes. You know, what can you show on TV? Especially on channels geared towards children. Using the film rating system, perhaps you'd call King of the Hill PG-13, while Courage the Cowardly Dog is PG? And yet, Star Wars and Ghostbusters are PG and remain a more for everyone kind of thing. It's a weird kind of phenomenon, I suppose. Also, the adult cartoons tend to feature adult characters, while the so-called kids' toons have younger protagonists. In fact, it's pretty uniform. Stuff like BoJack Horseman, Family Guy, and Archer all feature adult characters in the starring roles, while stuff like Gravity Falls, Adventure Time, and Sanjay and Craig all have older characters, but centralize around younger ones. And yet, people seem to look at stuff like Adventure Time and just think it's for kids, not realizing how deep the show actually goes. In fact, many so-called kids shows investigate deeper and more complex themes, storylines, and issues than the adult genre has ever done. Now, don't get me wrong, of course there are cartoons specifically geared towards young kids and like teaching them stuff. That is not something up for debate, nor is the general appeal of animated content to children. Bright colors, the enduring sense of slapstick humor, and animation's propensity to stretch reality. Cartoons can be silly and over the top. It's part of its nature, and kids of course will be drawn to that. But just as animation is silly, it can also be dark. Spend a few hours watching some anime and you'll soon realize this medium is a pathway to some dark shit. Of course, Americans haven't quite adopted the acceptance for animation across its age ranges the way that Japan has. As someone who's been an animation fan ever since I was a little kid, and even now as an adult, the truth is, people who aren't in on it will always view animated stuff as kids' cartoons. They'll forget that there are teams of fully grown men and women that are passionate about this art form, creating all of this incredible content. They'll forget that there are brilliant writers, they'll forget that there are brilliant animators, and, well, all of this process that you and I have grown to love will be largely unacknowledged, sadly. But you and I know better. We understand this incredible medium and industry, and just how many talented people it takes to bring this stuff to life, and that's why we love it. So, where do you land on all of this? Aside from the shows which are clearly geared towards adults and ones that are clearly geared towards kids, could the Western culture begin to see animation as more of an all-ages medium? Are we already on our way with some of our latest shows? Is there a middle ground? Or will it remain a niche interest for those of us Western adult animation fans? Let me know what you think. This has been a Toon Bite, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.